Okay. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Doug. The yay, Doug. Yeah. Good- yeah, thank you. Good morning. All right. So I've been blessed to be here this morning. And let's just do a little word of prayer before we get started. All right. Our loving Father, thank you so much for this opportunity that you've given me, that you've blessed me, that you've blessed us for being here today to give glory to you. We praise you for all glory. In Christ's name we thank you. Amen. All right. Today's talk, my title is, Why Are You So Mad? All right. And this is taken from the book of Jonah. All right. So we're going to spend most of our time in Jonah. So let's talk about Jonah. First person, who was Jonah? In verse 1 of Jonah, we find that the word of the Lord came to Jonah, son of Amittai. Okay, that kind of narrows it down there. All right, but then we go to 2 Kings 14:23 to 25, and it gives us a little more information about Jonah. Right, in the 15th year of Amaziah, son of Josiah, king of Judah, Jeroboam, son of Jehoash, king of Israel, became king of Samaria, and he reigned 41 years. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord and did not turn away from the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat. Now, a little side note here, kings of Israel and Judah can be confusing sometimes because they both had the same name. All right, so this Jeroboam we're talking about with Jonah is actually Jeroboam the second. All right, so he was the one, Jeroboam the second, who restored the boundaries of Israel from Lebo Hamath to the Dead Sea, in accordance with the word of the Lord, the God of Israel, spoken through his servant, Jonah, son of Amittai, the prophet from Gath-Hepher. And Robert, could you put on Gath-Hepher slide for us? All right. I've got one of these little cool things here. And oh, look at, and it doesn't show up on that. Oh, that's interesting. Ta-da. Invisible ray. Isn't that cool? Whoa, gone. All right, well, if I can't take a joke. Gath Hefer, you'll see it right there. Yeah. That is where Jonah is from, not far from you. And actually, it's a little bit farther north, you don't see this here, of Nazareth. So what we have here, Jonah, the prophet, and I want to clarify here, prophet. The man was chosen by God to be a prophet. And the neat things about the criteria for being a prophet is that you could never be wrong.
That's right.
Right? Because if you were wrong, you weren't a prophet of God. And and for me, it's like, that's so cool. Because when Jonah says, I have a word of the Lord, you know it's 100% correct. Little side note, in the military, my job was an intelligence officer. When I was with the combat infantry, my commander the very first time said, because as an intel officer, my job was to tell us, the good guys, where the bad guys were. And so I had all the information I could about the bad guys, who they were, what instruments they had, what weapons they have, where they, and everything you can think of. Before I started, he looked at me and said, you know, Doug, I'm going to base all my plans on what you tell me. Guess what? You can't be wrong. You know, no pressure. You know? Yeah. So here is Jonah. Jeroboam II reigned approximately 793 to 753 BC. 40-year reign here. So that kind of puts us in perspective of when Jonah was prophesying. So what's the mission here? Verse 2. God talks to Jonah, gives him the directive. Go to the great city of Nineveh and preach against it, because its wickedness has come up before me. So what do we know about Nineveh? Can I do a slide 2, Robert? Oh, I'm sorry, slide Nineveh. I got slide 2. It's the Nineveh slide. So what you have here is the archaeological site of Nineveh. And while this is historically accurate, it's really from about the time frame of Sennacherib around the 700 BC. So Nineveh, very much like that, but not quite as organized. First mention of Nineveh, by the way, is in Genesis. All right? And it talks about Cush, the father of Nimrod, and Nimrod, the mighty hunter. And then it says, from that land, Nimrod went to Assyria, where he built Nineveh, Rehoboth, Ir, Kala, and Rezin, which is between Nineveh and Keilah. The second mention of Nineveh is here in Jonah. So what do we know about Nineveh? From Jonah, we know it was large. 120,000 people lived there. Now, if you look at this diagram here, that's only about 1.5 miles wide at its widest point, and maybe 5 to 6 miles wide at its longest. Now think of 120,000 people living there. It took 3 days to go through it, right, because it was so large. Nineveh, archaeological evidence shows that Nineveh has been occupied since about 6000 BC. All right. I already said that. So, Robert, could I do a slide 3? Assyrian kingdom, please. I'm sorry. Keep doing slide 3. Read what I wrote. Okay, this is the Assyrian kingdom. Now, what's interesting is Nineveh, and I wish my... This is really good. I need one of those extended pens. So Nineveh, you'll see up the little red dot on the map there. Nineveh. All right. Can you everybody see the red dot up there? Here. See, red dot there disappears. See, red dot right there. Right? All right. But if you follow, it's in the darker green area there, Nineveh there. And a little side note, by the way, if you travel farther, go down this, you see Ur. That's right at the bottom right. You are Ur. That's where Abraham was from. Okay, so when God told Abraham to pack up the kids, move your stuff, you know, think about it. Abraham, by the way, was a city dweller. Little side note, so when God said, I've got a place for you, by the way, you're going to be a farmer, a shepherd, you know, talk about, you know, expanding your zone of comfort, all right, to go from city dweller. So Nineveh is off to the right up there. Jonah is still in Israel, Judah, so the amount of distance he would have to travel to go from where he is to Nineveh is like weeks to months. Now, the second thing is that how did Jonah know about Nineveh to begin with? Well, Assyrian Empire, Nineveh, the capital of the Assyrian Empire, power, influence has been spread, but the evil of it, I mean, talk about how bad it must have been. All right? So the cool thing, what did Jonah do? But Jonah ran away from the Lord and headed to Tarshish. Now, there, he went down to Joppa, we'll come there in a minute, where he found a ship bound for that port, and paying the fare, went aboard and sailed for Tarshish. Now think about it. Prophet of God, God talks to you directly, says, this is what I want you to do, and you say, no. Not only no, but I'm going to go the opposite direction. You know? Prophet of God. And I'm thinking, you know, what are you thinking? By the way, the Mediterranean isn't exactly the calmest seas to sail in. There's a little thing, by the way, and I'll come to that. Robert, Saharan dust one? Okay, this happens every year. And what it is that the Sahara Desert, from the early spring, late spring to early fall, you have the winds catch up this dust from the Sahara and push it across the Mediterranean. So it goes, this is, by the way, a picture in Crete. It goes, and this year it made it all the way to mainland Greece. All right? Okay, so that picture there, as an example, Robert, do the Saharan dust the day after. And there it is. You see the difference, just that, and again, this is the day after, that dust storm carries through it across there. So trying to sail anywhere, you can imagine, just from springtime to fall, this happens every couple days, right? It initially, think of how many wrecks are there on the bottom of the Mediterranean. You know, I would venture hundreds of thousands. Sailing was not a safe sport, all right? So that you took it upon yourself, You know, when you paid your fare, you're praying that they got you there most of the time. You know. Not only that, he is sailing open water. Robert, could you put on the Jonah map? Thank you, sir. Okay. So he's going from Joppa there. Excuse me. Oh, man, that's loud. Don't cough, Doug. So, so he's going from where it says Joppa at A to Tarshish. Now, we're thinking Tarshish right now is around the Straits of Gibraltar. There's some folks who think it might be in Sardinia, but let's face it, to get there, he's got to throw through open water, open sea, which is the most dangerous sailing. Because usually, sailors went along the coast based upon the favorable winds, because you could see something. If stuff started getting, you know, dangerous, of course, you know, you could always crash in the rocks or things like that. So it's neat. To me, again, I find this fascinating. Here's Jonah. He boards the ship, and the first thing he does, he falls asleep. Right? Now, I'm thinking the storm has come, and this ship is rocking so badly that they're throwing stuff overboard. And Jonah is where? He's down below snoozing like crazy. You know, it's like, how is this possible? Now, a little side story on my sweetheart, and she's going, don't do this. Stop it, Doug. You know, is that when I first took her home to meet my family, and I guess I hadn't realized, and when I was talking about my family, that she had the idea there was somewhere between like the Kennedys and Attila the Hun, you know? and so she was really nervous. And when she gets nervous, she gets tired. And so as we're driving up, I'm thinking, you know, this is going to be great. 2 people driving, because we're up to New Hampshire. It's 2 days worth of driving. Oh, this is awesome. You know, about midway through the first day, it's like, and I've been driving for the past 600 miles, like, you know, honey, don't mean to be complaining or anything, but, you know, and then she said, well, you know, when I get nervous, I get sleepy. And I'm thinking, they're just my family, you know. So was Jonah nervous? Could have been. But what's interesting, by the way, is that Jonah told them why he was on the ship to begin with. By the way, guys, here's my fare. I'm running away from God. You know, and the thing is, they had no problem with it. Come on. Apparently, it happens every day, you know. Folks running away from their gods, why not? Come on board. You know, as long as you pay, your silver works here too. You know. But when the storm got so bad, right, and they're starting to throw stuff over, and the ship's captain's going around counting folks, we're missing somebody, because he's accountable for everybody on that ship. He goes downstairs to Jonah and says, dude, how are you sleeping now? Get up there, pray to your God, because maybe if your God will listen, he'll save us. So then what happens? Nothing's working. Jonah's up on deck, and then he's rocking with the ship, you know, and he doesn't say anything. Finally, it's like they've got nothing to throw off anymore. And they said, let's cast dice. Let's throw dice to figure out who is the guilty party. Now, to me, this cracks me up too. The ship is tossed about so much, they're going to throw dice and think it's going to work. You know? Yeah. But it does, because they roll dice and bingo, it's old Jonah, the guilty party. And so he asked him, tell us, who's responsible for making all this trouble for us? What kind of work do you do? Where do you come from? What is your country? What kind of people are you? And he answered, I'm a Hebrew, and I worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and dry land. And this terrified them. And they asked, what have you done? They knew he was running away. The sea kept getting rougher and rougher. So they asked him, what should we do to make the sea calm down? And what does he say? Y'all need to toss me over. And I'm thinking, why does, you know, the captain, I'm sure, is like, I'm responsible for you. And Jonah said, yep, you need to throw me over. You need to throw me over. And my first thought from the captain is like, look at Jonah, if y'all fired to go swimming, why don't you just jump over? You know, well, why didn't Jonah just jump over? He could have done it. It didn't require them to throw him over. Why not? Because as we see, the captain said, he kept throwing stuff over. I'm sure he's thinking, if he jumps, that's about 160 pounds less of weight I've got on the ship. Okay. But he refuses to do it until finally he knows that if something doesn't happen, this ship is going to get destroyed and everybody's going to die. And it's great because they pray, they cry out to God, don't hold his death our fault. And what we have here, really, I argue, is an act of faith on their part. If you believe that my God can stop this storm, throw me overboard. You have a responsibility to take care of me, to save me, and I'm telling you, if you want to save yourself, you need to toss me over. And the captain, finally, no option, says, I guess you're going swimming. They take him, they throw him over. I love this because then it's like, ding, sun comes out, clouds part, and the captain's like, whoa. Like all that. Yeah, he should have dumped over first, right? Yeah. But everybody on that ship is like, whoa. The first thing they do, offered sacrifice to the Lord and made vows to him. I mean, think about it. Every God they prayed to, every God they petitioned, every God they cried out to, nothing. And then one little toss him over because that's what you got to do, and boom. Now, to me, experience, as they say, outweighs theory, right? Yeah, okay. I prayed, nothing happens there. Okay, I'm not a rocket scientist, I can figure this one out. Right? And of course, we all know that Jonah gets swallowed by the big fish. And what follows to me is an amazing thing. And I'm picturing myself, I've told God no, I've run away, and I'm now in the belly of a fish. I am not having a good day. Robert, could you put up Jonah 2:1? I know I should have given a better warning order than that. I need, if it's possible. I like the great fish that they have. I mean, it looks kind of like something you catch in Lake Yalatuna. Ta-da. Then Jonah prayed to the Lord his God from inside the fish. In my distress, I called to the Lord, and he answered me. Whoa. In my distress, I called to the Lord, and he answered me. And the rest of chapter 2 is Jonah's prayer. And effectively saying, things are pretty bad right now, but I will glorify the Lord. I will praise his name. When my life was ebbing away, verse 7, I remembered you, Lord, and my prayer rose to you, to your holy temple. Verse 8, those who cling to worthless idols turn away from God's love for them. But I, with shouts of praise, of grateful praise, will sacrifice to you. I will say, salvation comes from the Lord. Wow. Here I am inside a fish, and this is awesome. This is great. What better place to be? I'm inside a fish. Thank you, Father. Salvation comes from the Lord. 3 days. And we all know the foreshadowing, of course, Jonah and our Messiah. After that 3 days, to me, it's like 3 days he's in there, and he's praying, doing his best, eating probably sardines and stuff that's, left over, And yeah, a visual there, right? Because he's hungry, right? But then the fish, whoops his cookies and launches them back on shore. Now that's got to be uncomfortable. Jonah, love you, buddy, but don't hug me. Okay? Yeah. He goes back, gets cleaned up because The word of the Lord came to Jonah a second time. Dude, do what I told you the first time. All right, that's translated, of course. But, no, to me, again, what I find amazing about this is Jonah, prophet of God, chosen of God, to be the voice to those around him. Prophet of God. Experience now, I tried running away, that didn't work. Okay, I'll do what you told me. So he goes to Nineveh. He starts crying, going out through, starts prophesying, hey y'all, God's going to torch this place. You think Sodom and Gomorrah was bad? It's going to be a Cub Scout fire compared to what God's going to do y'all. You know, goes throughout there preaching and says, if it was up to me, I don't care what happens to you because, if it's up to me, don't take my word for it, please, because I don't like Nineveh. Because how do we know that? Think about it. He goes through, he preaches, he prophesies. It goes up to the king, and the king basically tells everybody, okay, let's pay attention. We're going to change. We're going to do what he says. Is Jonah happy about that? How amazing, isn't it? He's mad. What? How can you be so mad? And here it is that when God saw what they did, they turned from the evil ways. He relented. It did not bring destruction on them. But Jonah whiner, this seemed very wrong, and he became angry. And he said, see, I knew that was what you're going to do because you're a compassionate God. I knew you're going to do that. Jonah whiner, A God who relents from sudden calamity. Now, Lord, just kill me, for it's better me to die than live. Give me a break. Here's this guy, Lord, I love you. You're wonderful. This is thing, and thank you for rescuing me. Just kill me now. To go from being inside a fish, just glorifying, praising him for rescuing him from certain death, but he doesn't get what he wants. Just shoot me now. Because I don't like Nineveh. I hate Nineveh. I want them all dead. But no, you're going to rescue them, And God says, is it right for you to be angry? Is it right for you to be mad? No, what follows next is Jonah's still not convinced. He goes to Walmart, gets the marshmallows, gets the crackers, s'mores and stuff, and he goes off to the side of the sea. He sits out there waiting for God to bring judgment down. Right? It's hot. God causes the plant to grow up. Sweet, this is great. I've got shade as I'm waiting for God to destroy Nineveh, and nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. And then the plant dies. And we have Jonah whiner again. And he just wanted to die. I said, it would have been better for me to die than live. And God said to Jonah, is it right for you to be angry about a plant? And Jonah says, it is. I'm so angry, I wish I was dead. It's like, what am I missing here? But the Lord said, you have been concerned about a plant. You didn't do anything to it. You didn't make it grow. You didn't water it. You didn't tend it. It sprang up overnight and died overnight. And should I not have concern for the great city of Nineveh, of which there are more than 120,000 people who can't tell the right from the left, and many animals also? And that's how the book of Jonah ends. It's interesting. We're left with, okay, so what did Jonah do? Well, he probably still, Jonah whiner, went home, but Nineveh was saved. And I'm reminded is that how, why are you so mad? Why was Jonah so mad? Because he didn't get what he wanted. He didn't go his way. And I'm thinking how often this happens in our own lives over little stuff. It's like me in the car sitting behind another car at the stoplight, and it's like, Jesus loves me, this I know. It's green, come on, you're killing me here. I'm dying, I'm going to be retired by the time you move, let's go, come on. Drives off and, for the Bible tells me so. Yeah. It's like, and I'm thinking, where would we go? No, we're just going home. You know, grocery store, pick a place. You know. Or the time one Sunday I was helping, Ackworth has a triathlon, I think, once or twice a year. A couple years back, I was helping out as a volunteer and directing traffic. It's Sunday morning. And, I got cars stopped because there's competitors going by. And you can see this one lady is right there, and she is not happy. Her face is just screwed up, and you can, she wanted to commit mayhem on me, but it was. And as soon as the last one went by, I waved her through. She rolled down the window and she said, some of us I get to a church, Like, you're right. Some of y'all do. I hope it helps, Yeah. But we get so wrapped up in little things. Why are you so mad? When you think about what God has done for us, and it's funny, for me growing as a Christian, I grew up in the church. My dad beat Christianity into me, And the fact, and thank you, Father, that he did. But our personalities, I would say our characters, continue to change and evolve because the deeper we get into his word, the more we realize how much we have to do. In James, the book of James is great. James 1:19-20. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Because human anger, notice that, human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. And it's like, whoa. Yeah, think of the times I get irritated over something completely silly. As I think it's James, when you speak, you can't take it back. Once it's out there, it's for God and everybody to see. James 1:26. Those who consider themselves religious and yet do not keep a tight rein on their tongues deceive themselves, and their religion is worthless. Whoa. Yeah, from a Christian, think about it. I forgot who told me that as Christians, we represent, and I want to emphasize that, we represent, the world sees us as being the examples for Christ. And some of us do a great job of that, and sometimes we don't do a great job of that. It's like the pastor who coaches Little League, and he's out there just ragging on the refs big time until later on he's have to actually apologize for his actions. I'm sorry about that. I'm a Christian. I'm sorry. Yeah. So in this instance, Jonah, for me, is an emulative example of being given a gift from God and not using it like I should. Think about it. What are our gifts? Are we mad about somebody else's gift? Well, I'm not as religious as this person. I'm not as gifted as this person. I don't sing as well as this person. I don't, God has called us to be one body. We are all members. Like it says, because I'm not a hand, I'm not part of the body. Because I'm not a foot, I'm not a heart, I'm not a whatever. We are blessed, truly blessed, to have our Father love us in spite of ourselves. It's and I'm thinking, Jonah, God still loves this man. Jonah Weiner loves this man and still will use this man despite the obstinacy. So when I look back at myself and thinking of the times and the future times when I don't pay attention, God's love never, ever, ever, ever wavers. Love overwhelming for each one of us. Thank you. It's short and sweet. Or short.
All right. I'm going to pray the blessing. blessing, the benediction, and we'll go celebrate our mom. Father, I